Hi everyone, it's Jel here. So tonight I'm going to be going over how to build a smart module for the Hyperverse, and I'm actually going to be building a simple one and walk you through that step by step. So yeah, let's get started. So once you get here at the part of the docs, this is going to explain how to set up your environment. So what we're going to need to do is basically just clone the Hyperverse mono repo, fork that and clone it. So I actually already have a fork of that in my account, so I'm just going to go ahead and go to that one. And I'm going to git clone this one in here. So once I clone that, I'm going to go ahead and make a branch of like the module that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be doing a GM module. So let's go ahead and name it. And open that in VS Code. So once we're here, I am just going to go ahead and yarn this. So it downloads all the dependencies that I would need. Just going to go ahead and wait for that. So once we've downloaded all our dependencies, we could actually start building. First thing that we're going to have to do is go under packages here and find the starter kit for the blockchain that we're choosing. So right now we're doing the Ethereum one. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this Hyperverse Ethereum starter kit here and just put that inside of the package again. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this folder to Ethereum GM. And our next step would be actually, like, now we could get started on writing our smart contract. You're going to see here, there's a folder called Hyperverse, and this handles all of like what goes in a Hyperverse module and the clone factory. And I'm going to go over that a little bit more later when I get to the module factory, but we're going to go to module.sol for right now. So module.sol is going to be your main contract. And you're going to be writing this just like any other contract that you write. It's going to have everything in it. It's just like the very, very base contract with all the logic. Now, the only difference with this one is these are some of the stuff that you would need. So you have to set, of course, the contract owner, which gets set during the deployment of the contract. And then you're just going to have this variable here, which keeps track of the tenant owner. And then usually with your constructor, that's usually how you would have, how you would set all your state variables and initialize them. But all that is going to be going in the init function. So everything that happens in your constructor normally would go in your init. And then your constructor would be looking something like this, which sets the metadata of the Hyperverse module and also sets the contract owner. So I am going to go ahead and actually get started writing this GM module. So I'm going to rename this to Good Morning. And rename my file here so I don't forget. And then just get at it. So I'm actually gonna need the Open Zeppelin. Oops. It's the counter one. Let me just go and grab it here. Go ahead and import that. And then I'm just going to yarn. I'm going to cd into that package. and then yarn add opens up one contracts here. Why does it not like me? Oh. So I have to change the naming of the package JSON here. So this is going to be GM. Then we could yarn add that. And then this should be happy with me. Okay, good. So we're gonna initialize the counter here. There you go. And then we're gonna need this struct that keeps track of the people who has sent us good morning. So struct, and we're just going to call them a greeter, if I can type properly. So a greeter is going to have an address of the sender, and it's going to have the greeting. And we're also going to do the timestamp in there. And then we also need an array of those greetings just to keep track of all of them. And then what else do we need? We need an event here. What are we gonna call it? New greeting. Just call this GMs. Just because. Okay. So have my state in there, and then in my constructor I would usually not put anything for this one. And then I actually need a modifier here to just check that the color is the tenant owner. So a tenant is basically like your own instance. So in a contract you could have multiple tenants, and this is just to check to make sure for some functions that we need that check to make sure that the color of that function is the tenant owner. So in my init here, I actually just have to leave it like that. So that's all I need to initialize this contract. And then I'm gonna have a function called say good morning, which is gonna pass in a string of a greeting or a GM. And I'm gonna make this public. And then, yeah, so we're gonna increment our counter here. And then we're gonna create a new instance of that struct. And we're gonna set it, so we're gonna set the address to message.center, and then we're gonna set that, and then we're gonna do block.timestamp. And then once we have that, we're gonna push that into our array. Is this mad at me? No, it's not. It was just slate. And then we are gonna push that event. And I think that is all I need for this. And then we're gonna have a function to get to get all our GMs. Looks like Copilot is just doing it for me. Expected primary expression. What does it not like? What am I doing wrong here? Let's look. Oh, because it shouldn't be event, it should be emit. Also want to return the total good mornings that we have. So get total GMs. And then this one would just be current. There you go. And I think I have everything I need here. So yeah, this is just a sample module that anyone can use. So if they want, you know, anyone to put, I don't know, on your personal website and allow people to say good morning to you through the blockchain, then you could use this app, and then you could, you know, grab all that GMs that you have and show it on a page or like on a section in your own personal website. I think that'd be really cool. And yeah, so this looks all good to me. We're gonna go ahead to our module factory. And how the module factory works is, let me actually rename all this stuff first, and then I'm gonna go ahead and talk about that. So we call this Good Morning Factory. And then everything else I think is good. So I just need to change this. So how this clone factory works is here you'll see that in the initialization of this, so when we deploy this, the first thing that actually needs to happen is for us to just deploy the good morning.sol. So good morning.sol here is our master contract. And then once we deploy that, we set that address in here, and that master contract gets set here. And then what this clone factory does is it allows anyone to create an instance of this module, this contract, and basically set that up for you. Like, again, this is why we have it in the init, so everyone can set their own state for their initial proxy contract. And yeah, basically what that does is you just create a clone of the master contract, and you don't have to deploy a new contract, which is more expensive than just doing a clone. And the good thing about this is you actually get your own instance of it. You have your own state and all that stuff, so it's pretty cool. So we're gonna go ahead and edit this stuff here. Just copy that. And there should be good morning here. It should be good morning. And good morning there too. Okay. So usually the stuff here that you're going to change is just the create instance. All you need to do is set up that init so that the state variables that you want to initialize in your base contract, your master contract, is set in there, but everything else should stay the same. So again, most of your time that you're going to be writing your contract is still going to be the base contract, and then just a little bit of changes here in create instance for when you initialize your proxy contract. So that all works, hopefully. And then the next step that I'm actually going to go over here is the source here. So this is the JavaScript layer, which is kind of like an API for that contract that you just wrote, and it's set up again in a way that is more familiar to web developers, and it's just going to be kind of like, like normal data fetching packages. So it makes it easier for web developers or JavaScript developers to use your module and use this contract. So here, let me actually set up the deployment. So to set up the deployment, you know, just uncomment this part. Oops. And then I'm gonna go ahead and, okay, we're gonna go to Infura here. Gonna go to my dashboard and I'm gonna create a new project and we're gonna call it test GM. Just gonna copy my project ID here, and for now I'm just gonna hard code it in here, but usually you would have a .env file when you deploy that, but if you also just want to like hard code it, just make sure that you don't push this config.js. So I am gonna go ahead and so the accounts here is actually like the, what you call this, account that you're gonna be deploying the contracts from. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab one of my test accounts and copy the private key for that. So I don't have a lot of rank B ETH in this one, so feel free to take it if you'd like. So that's good, and I'm gonna go CD into, where am I? Okay, so I'm gonna actually compile it first and see if I have any errors in my contracts. Hopefully not. And it's good. And I'm gonna yarn deploy. So the deployment script is already set up, so just do yarn deploy and that's gonna set it up for you. Oops. I actually need to configure the script here. So let me actually just copy paste an existing one. And then in my script here, do that. Then we're just gonna change this to good morning. Oops, wrong one. So yeah, again, the first thing that you need to do here is to deploy your base contract. And then I'm just gonna print it here so I know the addresses of those contracts. And then I'll just call this the factory, if I could type properly. And I'm gonna do, what did I call it? Good morning factory. Goof. Good morning factory. And it's all good. GM factory. Honestly, the naming doesn't even matter, but just bear with me here for a second. Then I just want to make sure I'm setting it so I only need an owner for this one. So I'm going to remove the Hyperverse admin. Wait, no, that's right. This one, yeah, that looks good to me. Clear this and actually run your deploy. Hopefully it deploys. It usually takes like a couple seconds, so we just have to wait. Token is not defined. Oh, nice. Okay, so since this is deployed here, I am just gonna paste that onto here for now. And then we're gonna remove this since we don't want that to redeploy. And then we're gonna do Oops. I forgot to print the right address there. Sorry, bear with me. And then that should just give us the factory deployment. I didn't even spell that right. Oh well. Okay, so now we have our base contract and our factory contract. So in our source file here, we have a source folder. We have a file called constants, and we're gonna go ahead and paste that onto here. So the factory address is this, and then this here is the base contract. So I'm gonna go ahead and name this GM and this one GM, and then actually let me just leave that like that. And then for this, good morning. So we're just grabbing the AB high here. There you go. And then the tenant address is more of just like a default value. So you could either provide that or you could leave it for now. But I'm going to go ahead and provide the account that I used a while ago to deploy this. So I'm going to put that in there, save that. So this is just basically all the constants that you would need to actually write the hook for the module that you just wrote. So this is good. That's good. And then here in my use hook, I think it was called, what did I call it? GM ABI? Yeah. Just gonna replace that. So GM address. Oops. There you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. Actually, I don't think we need that, so I'm gonna take it out. And then now this is all set up in a way so that you just have to write the functions to actually call those functions in your contract. So I don't have a check instance for this one, so I'm gonna take this out. You should have that. I mean, I could add that in. Let me just add that in. So here, I don't remember what I did for that, so let me just grab it from this contract here. Instance, yep. So here in our Good Morning Factory, we have to have this mapping, and then when they create instance, we set the instance of the tenant to true. Okay, so now we have that. And we have create instance here. So as you can see, like creating this function here for all your functions is actually quite simple. Everything else is set up, so all you need to worry is those functions that you would need. So here I need, these are all coming from the factory contract, by the way. This is like to set up. This is going to be how you let others create an instance of your module. But for the rest of this, we actually need to, get it from the proxy contract. So the proxy contracts get set in here. So what it does is the tenant ID that's passed in from the top layer of like your client application or the client application of the user gets passed in here, and we actually get their proxy contract, which gives us the contract that they created, so the instance that they created, and this provides us that contract, which gets set in here, and then that's what we're going to use when we start writing the functions here for your base contract. So let me just grab one example here. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this function. So you have access to those files, by the way, so they're written already, so you could just copy paste them. So feel free to do that. And then this one is called get total GMs. And this one just returns a UN, so I'm just gonna do a return of that to a number. And then to actually expose that, again, I am just gonna go to the example here that's already been written. I'm gonna grab this, total GMs, and then we're gonna call that and that. Here, it's just when this gets called in the client side, it's just going to query this here, which returns, again, that total GMs that I have. And then when I actually do a function like, so let me actually do get all GMs for now, because that one is almost similar. And then this one, we're just going to return it. So, sorry, I keep forgetting to change that sometimes. Here, we're going to get an array. So we're just going to return that. And this one probably needs to get handled because it's going to be returning this struct here. But like, we could just do that in the client app. And then here we're actually going to be doing a function that writes to the chain, and that looks a little bit different, but not really. Let me do this before I forget. Let's name it all GMs. Okay. So for this, since this one needs a string, if I can type, we're gonna do GM, and we're gonna type that because we love TypeScript. And then everything else, basically the same. Let me just copy this so I don't have to write it. So we're going to await that, and we're actually going to return the transaction.wait. So let's call this a transaction. Thanks. There you go, transaction. And then this, how it's gonna look, again, I'm just gonna copy one here. So here, oh, actually, I think, yeah, this is just a GM string, and this is just a GM. And there you go. And then it's all done. So now once you have this hook, let me actually rename it so it's actually complete. Function GM state. Here we're going to say use GM, and then our provider, we're going to change that to why am I blanking? GM from use hook. Did I not rename the file? I did not rename the file, no. Okay. And then we're gonna rename that. And everything else is good, I think. One more here. So, yeah, this is all good. And yeah, so highly recommended to have tests. I skipped that step, but it's good to have that. And everything else is basically done. So for this one, how it's gonna look, if we look at use token here, and we have a sample app that uses it here in our apps. So Ethereum token, if we just go to like pages and we go to _app, this is where you initialize, and again, this is where they provide their tenant ID. So this is just gonna say GM. You can go to, you're gonna pass that down to the provider here, this Hyperverse, and then show you something that actually uses it. So when I do a mint, this is what it looks like. I just import use token from the module that I wrote. So this one is going to be use GM from Hyperverse Ethereum GM. And I basically just call the functions like so. So I'm gonna grab mint from use token, and then I'm gonna grab the mutate. So every time you do a write function, it has to be mutate. We could rename this to keep it more clear in the client side. I think we rename it like this. I don't even remember, but we can. I'm pretty sure it was like that. Mint transaction. Yeah. So we have to change this. But like that's just for preference, but it's usually mutate because we're using useQuery, and that's what useQuery, React Query gives us. And that is basically it. You're done. So yeah, that is all. You just write your contract normally as you would, except for the constructor and the init function, and then you write the JavaScript layer for it, which again, pretty straightforward how to do it. If you really want to dive deep into that, again, discord.gg/Untitled. Yeah, so this is pretty straightforward. We have a bunch of different examples here. You could look at ERC 721 or token that goes over this. And that's it. Thank you very much for joining me today. And good luck on what you're building. So excited to see it. And yeah.